And this is the point in the program that I introduce our guest analyst, who will give us her personal take on the news and issues of the day. And tonight I'm joined in the studio by the journalist, political affairs commentator, and Arise News analyst, Dr. Constance Ikoku. Thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Let's start with Professor Pat Utomi, who was our first guest on the program. Are you an enthusiast for his ideas? Do you think there's a vacuum of values in Nigeria?
I think that many well-meaning Nigerians will welcome his proposition. Talking about changing the narrative of Nigeria. First of all, reviewing the narrative that currently is in Nigeria and trying to change it for a better country. Professor Pat Utomi has been a thinker for quite a while. You know, he came to my attention sometime in 2006 or 7 when I was in Washington, D.C. as a foreign correspondent, and I went to cover an event, and there he was talking, and I've followed his work since then. And you know, the word that he uses, dignity, is a hugely important word. Why? Because dignity speaks to respect, to honor, to freedom, to equality, and to fairness. And these are all ingredients that is needed to build a solid nation. And so there will be a give and take. There will be a responsibility on the part of the people. There will also be a responsibility on the part of government. And you know, I think he explained that very well. So I think given what the state that we are in the country today, I think many people will be glad that we are talking about this, we are opening a conversation about it, and that we actually would like to do something in that direction.
Right. But of course, it's one thing to identify what values are and the deficit of those values within Nigerian society. But what sense do you get about the framework that he's suggesting for getting Nigerians to adopt those values?
Well, first of all, he talked about the family. That is hugely important. I don't know about you, myself, so many people when they were growing up were taught values at home. In fact, most times parents have the most responsibility for children. You know, the family is like the country. So you have a good family, a functional family, then you multiply it, and then you get that at the nation level. So whatever you get at the family level is a skill you get at the country level. So that family unit is important, that children are taught how to behave and what to do. And then of course schools are also important. You transfer for family, most times you spend couple of hours at school, so what you are being taught in school is also important. And then the state as well has to have deliberate policies. So for instance, people want to live in a country where there is rule of law. They want to be treated fairly and justly. They want an independent judiciary. That's the responsibility of a state. Also, what are other things that can also help people to live a dignified life? You talk about economy. People want access to opportunities, to jobs that will help them improve their quality of lives, and it also helps them to be good citizens. And then there are other things, for instance, the human rights of people. People want to be treated well. They don't want discrimination, irrespective of circumstances, irrespective of background. They want to see that their government and people see them as they are, and they can contribute to society. So it can be in all forms, but it's important that we have thinkers to guide this conversation, to start this conversation, you know, in the midst of the chaos that we're currently seeing in our country.
That's a good point, because Plato recommended philosopher kings, didn't he? That all people who rule must be philosophers, or who must come from
exactly.
that background.
It cannot always be about pursuing money. That is also important, but there are other things that would help society to build itself solidly. You need the foundation,
the institution.
Exactly, the foundation and institution. We used to have that, Charles, in the past. Something happened somewhere, because when you go to traditional African societies, you know, you will see people that say that family, do not go there because they have done something bad, they have a reputation, they are ostracized. Traditional, these things were existing in African society. It has been rolled back, so we need to go back there and even do more.
That's a good point. Let's move on to the crisis in the Middle East. We had the guest there, Shoshana Dominique Charles, who was on the line from Jerusalem. She's stuck in Israel. She's not Israeli, but she's Jewish, lives in the United States, but clearly fully supportive of the action that the Israelis are taking ostensibly to defend themselves. What are your thoughts there?
I mean, her story was a captivating one, drawing a correlation between her experience as a 9-year-old in the Nigerian Civil War and her experience currently in Israel. And you know, the scenes, we've been watching the scenes that are coming out both in Palestine and in Israel, and they are horrific scenes. You know, the bombardments, the siege, the airstrikes, the human catastrophe, you know, the hospitals that are overwhelmed with people. And, you know, people would like this to stop, but I think in the coming few days, it will continue. And what is happening has far-reaching implications. Number one, the humanitarian disaster. Over 1,000 killed in Palestine, over 1,000 killed in Israel, and over 500 wounded in Palestine. And then, of course, we hear that they are running out of power. They are
the only power station that works is run out of fuel.
So they are plunged into darkness. So that's a problem. The other implication is that
briefly.
The other implication is that there is a geopolitical problem going on, because countries have to side either with Israel or Palestine. So it creates a lot of problems. And whatever agreements and peace they have reached in the past, I think, has been completely obliterated. They have to go back to square one and start again.
Back to the drawing board.
Yes, it's a very tragic situation.
It is. Dr. Constance Ikoku, always a pleasure to talk with you. Thank you very much indeed. She's a journalist, political affairs commentator, and Arise News analyst. That's it for this edition of Arise Prime Time. Join us again tomorrow. From me and the entire team here in Abuja and Jerusalem, bye-bye and thank you for watching.